Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to the final race review of 2018, where I'm going to tonight review the 2018 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and hopefully you guys have recovered after the, I think, quite emotional final race of 2018, and no matter where you are in the world, whether that's in the Americas, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Australia, Europe, the UK, hopefully you are doing good on what is where I am on this Monday evening. But if somehow you missed out on the results of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, let me take you through them right now. So, your race winner, Lewis Hamilton from Sebastian Vettel second, Max Verstappen third, Ricciardo fourth and Bottas in fifth. And then Sainz in sixth, Leclerc seventh, Perez eighth, Grosjean ninth and Kevin Magnussen in P10. Then finishing the race but not scoring any points was Fernando Alonso on his final race, most likely in F1. Then Brendan Hartley in 12th, Stroll 13th, Van Dorn 14th and Sergei Sorokin 15th. And your retirees, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Marcus Ericsson, Kimi Raikkonen and Nico Hulkenberg. So, those are the results of your final race in 2018. But now, as ever, let's go through the top three teams and how they got on race day. First off, world champions Mercedes, and the drivers' world champion Lewis Hamilton once again was just too good on race day. The start of the race, he got one of the best starts he's had this year. He pulled away clearly into turn one, was quite dominant in the early laps before he pitted under the virtual safety car, which at the time in the race watch along, which by the way guys, if you haven't checked out, is in the description down below, I did actually think that that was a mistake at the time, but it did just about work out for Mercedes and Hamilton. He then tried to pass Verstappen after coming out of the pit lane. He did get past, but then Verstappen got back past him. And Hamilton was actually dropping off the pace, but then it came back to Hamilton as the ultra soft and hyper soft tyres of the other guys started to go off the cliff. Then he was in the lead, and Vettel, Verstappen, and Ricciardo were just too far behind to get close to Lewis Hamilton, and he did thoroughly deserve to win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And this is what Lewis had to say after this Grand Prix. It's been a real honour and privilege racing against Sebastian. I know that he'll be coming back stronger next year. That's him giving respect to Sebastian Vettel. And he also says, but what a way to end the season. I'm grateful for everything, your positive energy. He's talking about his fans and being with me every step of the way. Lewis, of course, having, I think, one of his best seasons in the sport. And these are the most important stats in his 2018 season. So, he has had 11 race wins, 11 pole positions, 17 podiums out of 21 races. That's just how consistent this guy is. And that's why it's so difficult to beat him over the course of a 20 or 21 race season. It's so difficult to beat this guy. And I believe is the first driver in the history of F1 to score over 400 points in a season. So well done to Hamilton. What a season it has been. I don't think this has been his best season in the sport. I think 2017 was, just slightly better. But you can't doubt that he has been the class of the field in 2018. But for Valtteri Bottas, he has been anything but. And wow, what a weird race. So at the start, he held on to second. He also got a great start. After Hamilton pitted, Bottas was leading the race for quite a long time. And, once everyone pitted, including the cars behind him, such as Vettel, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Bottas was clearly and quite comfortably in second place. But then going into turn 6 and 7, locked up quite badly And then Sebastian Vettel, because Bottas made that mistake, got past. And after that, it just seemed as though Bottas mentally just lost himself or something, because his tyres then were just they almost went off the cliff as soon as he did that lock-up. He was then passed by Verstappen, who put a great overtake on Bottas, and then Daniel Ricciardo, I think, quite easily got past Bottas. But yeah, very poor second half of the race. I think the first half of the race was good. He did, or was doing, you know, the most he probably could do. But then after that lockup, his race was terrible. I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe the tyres were on a knife edge and he was trying his best to not lock up. But then, you know, when he locked up, the tyres were completely gone. I don't know. But after that lockup, he just went into self-destruct mode. So very poor for Bottas. But for Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, another great and successful season. Next up is Ferrari, who haven't had a successful season, but Sebastian Vettel, I think, did have, I wouldn't say a good race, I'd say it was okay, or at best decent. I think at the start, he just didn't get a good enough getaway to get past Bottas, which if he wanted to go seriously for the race win, he had to get past Bottas at the start. He didn't, and spent the first half of the Grand Prix staring at Valtteri Bottas's rear wing. Then once he got past Bottas, he then started to close down Lewis Hamilton, but by the end of the race, he just didn't have enough time to do so. Again, if he got past Bottas at the start, I think Vettel, I'm not going to say would have won, but I think he would have been a lot closer at the end. So I think the start was crucial, but he just didn't get a good enough getaway to get past Bottas. But I think had, again, a decent race, nothing special, nothing terrible, finished up in second place. And this is what Vettel had to say about Lewis Hamilton and kind of a view to next year. He's the champion and he deserves to be the champion. He's talking about Lewis Hamilton, of course. We will try to come back stronger to give him a run next year. Well, Sebastian, you have given him a run in 2017 and 2018, not towards the end of the season, but for most of the season you have given him a run, but it just hasn't been a good enough run to beat them. So hopefully you do come back stronger, because in terms of the pace of their car, they really should have been winning this championship. They should have. But as we know, they have blown it. For Kimi Raikkonen, it was a sad end to his Ferrari career. He was running in 4th place, wasn't doing well or wasn't really doing badly, but then his car failed him. I believe it's a battery issue which failed the Iceman on, I think it was lap 6 of the Grand Prix. Caused a virtual safety car, which meant that Lewis Hamilton pitted. But yeah, a sad end to Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari career, and also a sad end, I think, to Kimi Raikkonen's career at the front of the field. Of course, he goes to Sauber for 2019 and maybe 2020, but I don't see realistically how Kimi can get back into a front-running position in a Sauber. It has been a great career that Kimi has had at Ferrari. It could have been better, you know, in 2008. He could have done better that season to go for the championship that he won the year previous. I think his second spell at Ferrari could have been a lot better. If he performed in 2014, 15, 16 and 17 like he has done this season, then I think he would have had maybe 2 or 3 more race wins to his name. But I will say, this season for Kimi has been his best season, in my opinion, since probably 2008, if not his World Championship year. And by the way, guys, in case you didn't know, Kimi Raikkonen, as it stands, is the last Ferrari driver to win a Drivers' World Championship. He's the last Ferrari driver to win a race for Ferrari, and he's the last Ferrari driver to get a pole position for Ferrari. So Sebastian has to make that right, because that's quite embarrassing for Vettel, but obviously great for the Iceman. Next up is Red Bull. Red Bull I think Red Bull did have the best race pace, which we did expect, but after the start, I think it just went horribly. Verstappen dropped down to, I think it was 10th place. Ricciardo dropped behind Charles Leclerc. That definitely did cost him at the start. So I think Red Bull were kind of cost by their bad start with both cars. Verstappen, it seems as though, had some kind of safety measure come on at the start to prevent him stalling, or I don't know, there was some kind of issue with the power unit. I'm not too sure, but yeah, that did cost Max Verstappen. He did have a good race though, getting past the midfield cars, then getting past Valtteri Bottas, jumping Ricciardo with the undercut. That was always going to happen with the way Verstappen pitted a lot earlier than Daniel Ricciardo for their one and only pit stops. But yeah, I think for Verstappen, it was a good Grand Prix. Nothing, again, kind of Vettel-like, nothing special. I'd say Verstappen's race was probably better than Vettel's, but yeah, Max, despite the start, did have, I think, a good race. And this is what Verstappen had to say after his final podium of 2018. Not an easy race. My engine went into a safety program at the start, but we managed to fight back. In the end, I was very happy to be third. And, when he says by the engine, or with the engine going into a safety program, if that didn't happen and he had a normal start, say he got away in 6th place or 5th place, he would have been right there with Vettel, I think, by the end of the race. But yeah, the start definitely cost Verstappen what probably could have been a 2nd place finish. But for Daniel Ricciardo, it is his final race for the Red Bull team. And, well, it wasn't a great final race for Daniel Ricciardo at Red Bull. It was a good one. I thought his start again wasn't that good, getting passed by Charles Leclerc at the start. But then once Leclerc pitted under the virtual safety car, he was able to pull away from Leclerc in terms of, Leclerc being stuck in traffic, and Ricciardo was able to do some good lap times in clean air. But yeah, it was a good race for Ricciardo. It wasn't a great race. I think Ricciardo definitely hoped for a better final outing for the team. A podium was possible. I think Red Bull did screw him a bit on the strategy, and I think Ricciardo did say that after the race, that he wasn't really helped or was helpless by the strategy the team picked for him. But still a good race. If he pitted about 10 laps before, I think Ricciardo would have been closer to Verstappen for the podium. But still a good final race for Ricciardo at Red Bull, and hopefully his decision to go to Renault does not backfire, because I want to see this guy on a podium in the future wearing yellow. But, of course, with the season being over, this is now the Drivers' Championship. I've got the top 10 in the championship here. So, first, of course, is Lewis Hamilton, way ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Third is just about Kimi Raikkonen. Fourth is Verstappen. Fifth is Bottas, very close there for third place in the Drivers' Championship. And then 6th, Ricciardo. Of course, with the amount of reliability issues, he just ended up way too far behind Verstappen, but still had, I think, quite a good season despite those issues. Hulkenberg finishes best of the rest and is the Formula 1.5 champion. Perez is 8th, Magnussen is 9th, and Carlos Sainz is 10th in the Drivers' Championship. Now, guys, what do you think about those three teams for Mercedes? What did you think of their race and Hamilton and Bottas? For Ferrari, do you think they could have, if they got a better start and got past Bottas with Vettel, do you think they could have won the race or not? And for Red Bull, do you think with them also that the start kind of cost them a chance of, with Verstappen second place and maybe the race victory? Put in the chat right now and I will read out and answer as many comments as I possibly can. Right, let me take a look at what you guys have to say. So, Ben McCarthy about Hamilton's podiums. 17 podiums against 13 in 2017. In a less dominant car and not as good reliability and team strategies for Lewis, for me, is the reason why he was at his best this year. Tonka Toy Truck, great to see him. Red Bull is going to do well with the Honda engine, in my opinion, and my first prediction for 2019. Second prediction, Leclerc will outqualify Vettel before the summer break as well. Yeah, pretty early predictions there, considering the last race of 2018 was yesterday, but if you want to go for it, then go for it. Ben McCarthy, yeah, I'd say Red Bull's pit will cost Danny Rick a podium. Yeah, I think they should have pitted him around lap 25 instead of, what was it, lap 34? I think they pitted him. They should have pitted him around lap 25. That was a good opportunity to pit the Australian. Verstappen's start cost him third in the Drivers' Championship. That's an E7 suspect. Yeah, maybe it did. Maybe it did. Ronan Brady, do you think Red Bull were actually less competitive this year than last year? No, no way. Red Bull this season have been way more competitive than they were last season, because if you go back and look at the first half of 2017, they were third fastest, like they have been for quite a lot of times this season, but in 2017, they were nowhere near Mercedes and Ferrari in the first half of the season, but were way too good for teams like Force India, Williams and Renault, excluding Canada and Baku that season. This season, Red Bull have been, for most of the season, very competitive with Mercedes and Ferrari on race day. In qualifying, forget about it, but on race day, Red Bull have been very competitive. And you know what? This might, I don't know if this will be controversial or not, but I think this has been Red Bull's best season in the V6 hybrid era. I think this is the most competitive they have ever been. Let me read out some more comments. Mike Post, why didn't Bottas get a penalty? What for exactly? Are you saying the jumping across the chicane? I think that's what you're referencing, aren't you? I don't think it was a penalty. I don't think it was. Verstappen was not going for the move, so he didn't gain anything. And by the way, he gave back Verstappen the time that Verstappen lost in Bottas going across the chicane. Andrew Drury, even in Monaco last year, Red Bull were third fastest. They also had no pole positions in 2017. That's another thing, yes. This season they've had, is it 2 pole positions this season? Monaco and Mexico, I think it is. And yeah, last year they had none. The closest they got was second in Mexico in 2017. Simon Cragland, great to see him. Hamilton was really impressive at saving his tyres. He has been. I've noticed over the last few years he has been very good at that. He didn't used to be good at that. In his first, say, 5 to 6 years, Lewis Hamilton was not that good at saving his tyres. But as he's got more experienced, he has learned that very important skill. Tonka Toy Truck Mercedes still have not determined Bottas's issue, but they could tell something was wrong. I've seen people saying that maybe it was a puncture. I don't think it was. I don't think it was a puncture. I think maybe, I don't know how big the lockup was, but I think that lockup might have put kind of a hole through the tyre and kind of got it quite close down to the carcass. So, yeah, I think it's a tyre issue. I don't think it's a puncture, though. I think it's a tyre wear issue more than running over debris and popping his tyre. Right, let me just look through the chat to see all of your comments. Hello to Alejandro Barbosa. Hello to all of you, by the way, who's joined me on this Monday evening. Halam899. As a Kimi fanboy, I'm still sad about the end of his Ferrari career. Yeah, it is sad, but at least that he got the race win we were willing him to get. At least he got that, so yeah. Andrew Drury, I don't think Bottas had an issue, he's just rubbish. Yeah, I don't think he had like a legitimate puncture or, you know, a real issue. I think it was a tyre issue, but it wasn't something that he couldn't control. You guys would have seen this. Over this season and last season, Bottas is very poor at managing his tyres. Very poor, and he has to get better at that. Just look at Brazil. He was holding up everyone for the entire race, except for what, the last 5 laps when he was, I think on the ultra soft, not the ultra soft, the super soft tyre, I think, or the soft tyre. He's very poor at managing his tyres, especially his rear tyres, and that's despite Mercedes putting these rear wheel spacers to help the rear tyre wear and the rear tyre temperatures. He is just very poor at that. To be honest, the race, in my opinion, was at least decent. I think it was a good race. If you compare it to other Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, this was probably the second best race we've had at this track. It's not as good as 2012. 2012 is still the best, but this was probably the second best race at this track we've ever had. Simon Troop, Ricciardo pitted too late. Yep, I agree. He had poor tyre wear at Williams too. Yes, he did. I think the Williams was bad on its tyres anyway, but yeah, Bottas also... He's never been known for managing tyres well. He has never been known for that. And yeah, Ben McCarthy, Bottas wastes Pirelli rubber and has probably used more than double the amount of tyres than everybody else in 2018. As well, I've noticed another thing. The last 3 races, Bottas has had to pit an extra time for new tyres. So if that doesn't show that Valtteri just can't look after his tyres well, then I don't know what to say. Amir Pro 2016 Abu Dhabi was a good race as well. It was, but I think this race was better than that one, to be honest. A lot of that race was just tension because of what was going on at the front. Just looking through the comments, I'm just scrolling up a minute. Falling out EMS, yes. Yeah, Lewis, sorry, got lucky. But he also drove great this season, least mistakes out of everyone. I don't think Lewis has been lucky this season. He has had a couple of lucky moments, such as Baku. Definitely was lucky there, but I don't think has been lucky this season at all. If you actually look, Vettel, I think, has been luckier than Hamilton, because Vettel has not had a reliability issue this season in either qualifying or the race. Hamilton had one at the end of the first race. He had a gearbox penalty for Bahrain. He had reliability issues in Canada with his brakes and his power unit. And his engine failed in Austria. And then had a slight issue in Brazil, which almost cost him the race win. So I don't think Lewis has been lucky this season. I don't think Sebastian Vettel's been lucky, but if you compare the two's luck, I think Vettel has been luckier than Hamilton. I'd say Vettel had a reliability issue in Brazil. I don't think we can really count that, because I think the soft tyres just weren't working for Ferrari. I think that was a big part to play with that. Yes, there was a sensor issue, but I don't think it really cost Vettel that much in the race. But even if you count that, still Vettel has had a lot less problems reliability-wise than Hamilton. Imagine Bottas in the 2013 mark with that tyre wear. That's from Ben McCarthy. In 2013, he'd be doing, at best, 3 pit stops a race. At worst, probably 4. If you guys have never seen the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix, then yeah, go and watch that. Mercedes, that was probably their worst race when it came to tyre wear. They qualified on the front row and they ended up 6th and 12th, I think. Just because their tyre wear was so bad. Right, there's so many comments here. I'm just trying to find the best ones I can. Let me just look through. Simon Cragland in Baku, he should have won as well. Yep, Bottas should have. Tonka Toy Truck, Bottas has to have a good year in 2019 or Ocon may take his place. It does not look good for Ocon. I'm going to say, I think I said this yesterday in the race watch along. I don't see how Ocon has done enough to go to Mercedes for 2020 because, one, he hasn't beat Sergio Perez in any of his full seasons in F1. In 2017, Perez finished ahead of him despite Ocon finishing every single race bar 1. And this season, Perez beat him again. Now, I know Ocon did have a couple of unlucky moments, but so did Sergio Perez. So, I think Ocon... And also, I don't think Ocon... You know what, I'm going to put this to you guys. I've been thinking about this for a few days. Have you ever looked at an Esteban Ocon performance and ever thought, wow? Has he ever wowed you with what he's done? He's never wowed me. He has had plenty of good performances, but I've never been wowed by what Ocon has done. And before anyone says that I hate him, I don't. I really like Ocon. It is an absolute farce that he is not on the grid for 2019. He is clearly better than drivers such as Lance Stroll, driver announced today, Alexander Albon. I like Albon, but I think Ocon is better. I think Ocon does deserve to be on the grid more than Robert Kubica. How Ocon is not on the grid, I don't get it. But I don't think Ocon, in his F1 career so far, has done enough to warrant a Mercedes seat. So, until Bottas, you know, really has a real poor season consistently, instead of, you know, half of it being good like this season and the other half not being good, then I don't see how Valtteri Bottas ends up outside of that team. Raghav Gupta, he deserves a seat, just not in a Merc. Yeah, I think he deserves to be, say, at Force India for another season. I don't think he deserves yet to be in the top team. He hasn't even beat any of his teammates in F1. I know with Verline at Manor, he joined halfway through the season and was never realistically going to beat Verline. But he's had 2 seasons to beat Perez, and he hasn't. And it's not like he's been unlucky. He's had about the same, if not more luck, at times, than Sergio Perez. And he hasn't beaten him in 2 seasons. And if people say Ocon thoroughly deserves a 2020 seat at Mercedes, then what about Sergio Perez? What about Sergio Perez? Because if Ocon deserves a seat, then so does Perez. So think about that. Simon Cragland, do you think Ocon is the favourite to replace Bottas in 2020 because Russell is also driving for Williams next year, but maybe it's too early for Russell to join Mercedes in 2020? Well, we said that with Charles Leclerc, didn't we, coming into 2018, that If he does go to Ferrari, it probably won't be until 2020 at the earliest. But look at what's happened. Leclerc's been very, very good and is at Ferrari in his second season. So there's no reason why Russell can't end up in the Mercedes for 2020 if Bottas does not do well enough. But I wouldn't say Ocon is the clear favourite. I think Ocon is the favourite, but not the clear favourite. If Russell just amazes us in 2019, then I think Russell has and should have a better chance of that seat than Ocon. And also, I think Russell has had a more impressive junior Formula career than Ocon. He's won GP3. He went into F2. Ocon didn't do... I don't think he did GP2, did Ocon. Russell, first season in F2, clearly has been the best and deservedly has won that championship. So you could argue that Russell is probably not better than Ocon, but has maybe more potential than Esteban Ocon. Right, let me read a couple more and then I'll go on to the midfield and then we'll get into the Q&A. Simon Cragland, Ocon has more potential than Perez. True, but, you know, why can't he beat Perez? If he is potentially this great driver, which I think he can be if he realises all of his potential, but if he's, you know, this good of a driver, then why can't he beat Perez in the same car? I don't get it. Can you imagine how unbearable Sky would be if two British drivers were at Mercedes? That's from Andrew Drury. Yes, it would be. But look at next season. We have Hamilton, Russell and Norris. And you could also kind of count Albon as a British driver as well. Despite him having a Thai racing licence. So, yeah, a lot of Brits coming to the grid in 2019. Ben McCarthy, I'll read this one, then I'll go on to the midfield. Maybe Ricciardo at Mercedes. If Renault don't get it right, probably won't happen. No, I don't think it will. Unless Renault are like McLaren Honda in 2015, I don't think Ricciardo is going to give up that soon on the Renault project, which it is. It's a project for Renault. They've given themselves until 2021 to get fighting at the front of the field, and I think they can do it because at the end of the day, they have a lot of money and are a manufacturer team. And if you are a manufacturer team, you do have a very good chance of getting up to the front of the field. But anyway, we'll move on from that and go on to the midfield. So first off, McLaren. Now pace-wise, they weren't that bad. They were close to points with Fernando Alonso, of course, in what is likely to be his final race in F1. Yeah, I think they had, I wouldn't say a good race, but maybe slightly better than I was expecting. And Fernando Alonso, of course, celebrating, well, not celebrating, but thanking the fans one last time on, again, what is probably going to be his final race in F1. Now, when it comes to Alonso, I have to say, he is the most talented driver of his generation. That generation is him, Raikkonen, Button, Heidfeld, you know, that kind of generation of drivers. He is the most talented of that generation for sure. He has had so many performances which just wow you and think, how can this guy do such a thing in that car? Just go and look back at 2012, how he was able to even lead the championship for how long he did, which was like, I think 3 to 4 months. How he was able to do that in a car that was about a second off the pace is mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing. And that season, for me, just describes Fernando's career. He has been in the wrong team at the wrong time, but will still get results out of that car which just amaze you and think, what if this guy was in a great car? And that's basically been his career. So many great performances, so many memories, and as I saw over Twitter, and I think you guys will say as well, gracias, Fernando. Hopefully you do have a good final few races in WEC. Hopefully you do win the Indy 500, and I think it's been announced today he's taking part in the 2019 24-hour Daytona race. So hopefully whatever he does in the future, he is successful in and wins the Triple Crown, because his talent absolutely deserves it. And I just want to mention as well Stoffel Vandoorne, because no one is talking up the guy. Now Vandoorne is going to Formula E for 2019 or the 2018/19 season, driving for I think the Mercedes team, or of Mercedes type of team in that series. Now, don't be surprised if this guy ends up back in F1. He does have the talent to be in F1. Yes, maybe he hasn't shown it, but this McLaren car has not been good enough in the seasons he's been in F1. So hopefully Vandoorne, in a similar way to Kevin Magnussen, finds his way back to the sport and shows us why he was so highly rated coming into F1 full-time at the start of 2017. Next up is Renault. Now, they had quite a dramatic race. We'll first talk about Nico Hulkenberg. Now, Hulkenberg, at the start, had kind of a good one. Tried to get past Grosjean for P7. Now, he got past and had, I think, enough of his car ahead. Turned into the second part of the chicane at the end of the first long straight. And then Grosjean hit him and he went flipping over and was upside down, with the car on fire for a brief moment, unable as well to get out. Now, first off, with the incident, I still think Romain Grosjean was at fault. Hulkenberg had enough of his car ahead. Grosjean was never going to repass him at that corner. The best thing Grosjean could have done was just lift off or brake and wait until, you know, later in the race or the next straight to get back past. There was no way Grosjean was going to get back in front into that corner. Even if Hulkenberg gave him a bit more space, he was never going to get through. So, for me, it is Grosjean's fault. But I also want to talk about, guys, the halo. Now, Hulkenberg was unable to get out of the car when it was upside down because of the halo. Now, this is an issue because, yes, there was a fire, but it was a small one. But let's just say, theoretically, Hulkenberg flips over and the whole car sets on fire. How does Hulkenberg survive that accident with the halo there that is preventing him getting or crawling out of the car? That was when I saw that the halo was going to be on the cars. That was my first concern. What if the driver is trapped in the car and he can't get out because of the halo and the car is on fire? What if? And yeah, I think he's a bit lucky that the whole car didn't go on fire, or a lot of the car. Again, you know, the whole car, or, you know, a very dangerous part of the car going on fire and setting fire to the driver is quite rare in F1, but it has happened before. If you've never seen Yas Verstappen at Hockenheim in '94, or Pedro Diniz in Argentina, I think in '96, and I think, was it Pantano in 2004, I think, was set on fire. You also have Kimi Raikkonen in the pit lane in Brazil 2009. It does happen. It is rare, but it does happen. And if that car, if most of it, especially towards where he was in the car, if it was on fire and he couldn't get out because of the halo, then I think that is a big issue. And I think they have to investigate and try and find a way of making the halo, I don't know, detachable or removable in those types of situations, because that is the last thing you want, is a safety device to end up killing a driver. So hopefully they can improve the halo. For Carlos Sainz, though, I have to say, and I didn't say this yesterday, I didn't actually make my driver of the day. And my driver of the day for Abu Dhabi was Carlos Sainz, because he started in P11. I think after his teammate crashed, he got up to P10. And then on the harder compound ultra soft tyre, got past Ericsson, Perez, Ocon, Charles Leclerc. And not only did he get past, he finished very comfortably in 6th place. So I have to say, Carlos Sainz was for me the driver of the day. But when it comes to saving his seat at Renault, I'm afraid it's too little too late. But for Renault, it has been a successful, results-wise, season. They finished 4th in the Constructors. That was their goal, and they have got in, hopefully in 2019, and I think they will get closer to the top teams and pull away from the midfield. Next up is Force India. Now, Force India, I think they did have a good race pace-wise. With Esteban Ocon, it was quite a mad race, getting bashed out the way by Max Verstappen and then trying to get back past and having a very close fight. Ocon also had close fights with Grosjean, Van Dorn, Williams's and Toro Rosso's. Very, very chaotic race for Esteban Ocon. And also, when it comes to the Ocon-Van Dorn incident and that penalty for Ocon, it was fair. Ocon completed the move off the track, and that's why he deserved the penalty. But it didn't mean anything at the end of the race because he had, I think, some kind of oil problem or oil fire in his engine. So Ocon retired from what's going to be probably his last race in F1 until earliest the 2020 Australian Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, though, I said in my race watch along in the build-up would be the one to watch, and he finished in 8th. So thank you, Perez, for getting my prediction to be correct. And yeah, good race by Perez. If he had a better qualifying, he could have finished in P7 ahead of Leclerc. But yeah, a good race for Force India. And after what has been a turbulent season, now they can fully concentrate all of their money that they now have, development, and just focus on 2019. And just to show you guys as well, as if you guys didn't know, sorry, going into the race, Sauber could have took P7 off Force India in the Constructors. There was only 6 points separating them going into this race, but Force India did just about enough. Sauber, I think, did the best they can, but Ericsson's DNF ended any hopes of them finishing 7th ahead of Force India. But yeah, Force India doing just about enough, and again can focus now on 2019. Next up is Williams. What a poor season it has been, and this race, it wasn't the worst race they've had this season. They've definitely had worse races. But yeah, just another meh, nothing type race for Williams. And hopefully for Russell and Kubica in 2019, Williams can produce a better car. I don't think they will, but hopefully they can. Next up, Toro Rosso. Now, for a time in the race, Pierre Gasly was nicely in the points after starting in 17th. It just shows you if he didn't have reliability problems at this race, he could have been up there with Leclerc and Perez going for P7. But yeah, Pierre Gasly was very unlucky, having the problem in qualifying, and then in the race he had, I think, a similar issue to Esteban Ocon, and at the time was running in P10, so that is a shame for Pierre, but that is just the way it is. And Brendan Hartley was in P12 in what is going to be most likely his final race in F1. Now, Brendan, I have to say, such a nice guy, one of the nicest people in the paddock, but as they say, nice guys finish last, and I'm afraid he has not done enough to earn himself a seat at Toro Rosso for 2019, as it's been announced that at Toro Rosso for 2019 will be Daniel Kvyat and Alexander Albon. I'll get into more of that in This Week in F1 on Sunday, but yeah, Hartley has not, I'm afraid, done enough. Next up is Haas. I'll have to say, their race was not the best it could have been. You know, Grosjean saying he had the best qualifying of his life, qualifying at 7th. He didn't have that good of a race. It was a very scruffy race. He did get into the points, of course, but it could have been better. He spent too long trying to get past Stoffel Van Dorn. That was the issue that he had in the race. But yeah, Haas's race pace was not that good. And I think, again, it does show their weakness when it comes to the softer compound tyres. The harder the tyre and the better the tyre wear, depending on what track it is, Haas go better, no doubt about it. Just look at Brazil, where I think Haas were a lot stronger than they were at this race. But despite the controversies about protests against Renault and Force India and all of that, this has been very successful for Haas. 5th in the Constructors in their 3rd season in F1. And hopefully they don't drop off in 2019. Hopefully they continue to make progress. Great to see this small team doing so well. And again, it's 3rd season in F1. And finally is Sauber, the most improved team in 2018. Charles Leclerc finishing in P7. Leclerc had a very good race. Now, you could argue he could have got past other cars maybe a bit quicker, but I think just got held up in the dirty air of cars that he wasn't massively faster than. And that's why I'm kind of critical of Grosjean, because we know the Haas is way faster than the McLaren, so he should have been passing him anyway despite the dirty air effect. Leclerc was trying to pass cars that were kind of equal on pace with his Sauber, so it was a bit difficult, but finished in P7 in his final race for Sauber, as now he goes to join the Scuderia and will be doing his first test on Wednesday at the Yas Marina track in a tyre test, I believe, for Pirelli. So hopefully he does have some good first impressions as we now head towards 2019. And also Marcus Ericsson retiring from the race. Such a shame. He was running in 8th place, and I think he would have scored points, but had some kind of car issue. And I'll say it again, I think Ericsson does deserve to be on the grid for 2019. I think he has done enough and has had his best season to date in F1. But there you go, that's just the way it is. But here is, as well, just to show you Charles Leclerc, and just to show you how impressive this season has been. Just look at this. So his best race finish was Baku, P6. He has been 7th a lot in qualifying in 2018, and that is his best quali position. 10 points finishes in a Sauber. I guarantee you guys would not believe that would be a possibility. And scoring 39 points. Again, very good in a Sauber. But here is, guys, your final Constructors' Championship positions for 2018. So Mercedes, World Champions, Ferrari 2nd, Red Bull 3rd, Renault nicely in 4th, and Haas also nicely in 5th. And then McLaren 6th, even though this has been a poor season. Force India 7th, that's good considering they had no points at the start of the Belgian Grand Prix weekend. 8th is Sauber, great season. 9th is Toro Rosso. Could have been better, but, you know, testing times of course, the Honda power unit in their car. And Williams having a very poor season in last place. But guys, it is now Q&A time. So for the next 20 minutes, make sure you put as many questions in the chat as possible, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. I can't promise I'll answer every single one, but I'll try again to answer as many as possible. The reason it's not going to be 30 minutes tonight is because I'm going to dedicate 10 minutes towards the end of this stream towards doing a channel update for you guys, where I'm going to tell you guys what's coming up on the channel during December and also January. And at the end, I'll also let you guys know what is going to be uploaded on the channel for the rest of this week. So in the chat right now, and also in the comment section, if you're watching this after it's gone up as a live stream, also put your questions in there, and I'll try to answer them also as soon as possible. Right, let me take a look. And also, just to let you guys know, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing this for every race weekend in 2019. So you can either subscribe on the bottom right of the screen or click my channel name, go to my channel page, subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell. Right. Let me just get to the first question. Right, Andrew Drury. Andrew Drury, what are your top 5 best and worst races of 2018? My top 5, I'm not going to say in order right now because I'm actually going to do a video about this later on, just before the end of the year. But the top 5 best, I'll mention 5 races, but I don't know the order as of yet, and I'll do the worst ones as well. So the 5 best in no particular order: Bahrain, Kota, Brazil, Silverstone, and either Shanghai or Austria. Probably Shanghai, but also Austria was a great race as well, so maybe that one as well. The worst ones: Canada, Monaco, Spa, Australia, and Singapore. Those are the worst. I don't know which order though. I'll do that in a video before the year is over. Ben McCarthy, are you doing a video on best races and best drives of 2018? Yes, I will let you guys know about that in the channel update in about 20 minutes time. Crystal Racing, great to see you. Outside of the top 3, which team will win Formula 1.5 in 2019? Renault. Yeah, Renault. And I think with the way Renault will win that, you won't even maybe want to reference them as a team in Formula 1.5. I think they will clearly be ahead of the midfield teams such as Force India, Sauber, McLaren, Haas. How's Niblo this morning? I haven't talked to him yet, so I don't know. I will be doing the podcast with him later. I was counting down the laps. 3, 2, 1 to go. Yes, Danny time now. Put the hypers on and watch the dive bomb masterclass. Then, what do you mean they put the bleep and supers on? Yeah. I don't know why they put super softs on. They had nothing to lose if they put on a set of not ultra softs, hyper soft tires. They had nothing to lose. So yeah, I don't know why they did that. Might as well go for it. Again, nothing to lose. Ben McCarthy, will Lewis surpass 91 wins? Yes, he will. He will not only surpass it, he will set a very tough benchmark to equal, I think. And I think it will go into the hundreds. Simon Cragland, do you think Vettel will beat Leclerc next year? I seriously don't know. I would probably say Vettel, but I think it's going to be close. Right now, I have no idea. I'd have to say, if you put me on the spot now, I'd say Vettel, but again, I really don't know, because I think Leclerc has a very, very good chance of beating him. Tonka Toy Truck, Leclerc may be faster than Vettel. He is really impressing me. I think he may be as good as Verstappen. He's definitely in that ballpark for sure. Monaco was great. Of course you're going to say that, Warren M. Ben McCarthy, what has F1 learnt from itself the most in 2018? Can we have less celebrities and more racing? I think you guys will know what I mean after yesterday. Ivan Jones, what about Baku? That was a good race, but I don't think it was as good as those races I mentioned. James Zoo, my friend and I had a massive argument on Kubica. He said Kubica won't perform and Ocon will replace him mid-season. I believe in Kubica and he would do okay, but behind Russell. I understand why your friend is saying that. And there's nothing wrong with him saying that at all, because it is a genuine concern. But I don't think Ocon will be replacing him mid-season. I think Kubica will be given the full 2019. When it comes to, though, whether he'll be good enough, by the time we get to the European season, so the Spanish Grand Prix, we should know by then whether he is good enough, or if he isn't at that time, you know, can he improve, and is he close enough to a level where, you know, he can still be in the sport. Motorsport Tube, was Spain boring? Yeah, it was. It wasn't the worst race we've had there, but it was boring. Will Renault be in Formula 1.25? That's a great one. Yeah, pretty much. They will be about in between Formula 1.5 and Formula 1. Right, let me just look. Scroll down a bit. Raghav Gupta, Canada was the worst race. I think Canada probably was the worst race because we were expecting Canada to be its usual self. Canada. We all know what Canada brings. And it was maybe the worst race we've ever had at that track. So bad. I couldn't believe my eyes when I was watching the race. I was like, what is going on? Where is the, you know, this craziness that happens in Canada? Where is it? Scoop Richardson, do you think Kimi's move to Sauber is just in case Vettel doesn't work out and they can move him back to Ferrari? Nope, I don't think that is. I don't think that is the case. If Vettel does not work out and leave Ferrari, it probably won't be until, say, end of 2020 or 2021. I think that is the earliest Vettel will leave Ferrari if it does not work out. Anders Ericsson, who will be Leclerc's race engineer in 2019? I think it has been announced. It will be Jacques Clear. Now, if you don't know who Jacques Clear is, then he is a very experienced engineer. He was Jacques Villeneuve's engineer. I think he was Nico Rosberg's for a small time, and also Rubens Barrichello's. So, yeah, I believe it is Jacques Clear. Crystal Racing and the less weird stripping off on the podium. By the way, I'm sorry about the thumbnail, but yeah, I didn't want to go for a picture of the cars. I wanted to go for a picture of the driver, but yeah, that's the only one I could find that was good enough. Motorsport Tube, what is the better car, 2018 Williams or 2018 McLaren? I think overall for the entire season, I think the McLaren, but I think for the second half of the season, the Williams has been the better car. But I think McLaren was so far ahead in the first few races that you'd have to say McLaren. Opinions, now we can fight. So Ben McCarthy, yeah, that was the most stupid comment to make, clearly from Fernando. Ivan Jones, 2018 was miles better than 2017, especially on track drama and racing wheel to wheel. Yes, it was, and I think someone said this yesterday. This has been the best season we've had since 2012, in my opinion, and I think a lot of you will agree with that. And if, you know, if that continues to happen, best seasons since 2012, then I think F1 is going in the right direction. Crystal Racing, Canada has actually become the worst track for hybrids due to fuel and tyre saving. 2014 was a fluke. Yeah, 2014 was. 2017, though, wasn't that bad, but I think the excitement was Ricciardo holding up the Force Indias and then the Ferraris. But yeah, since the hybrid era, the Canadian Grand Prix hasn't got better in terms of excitement. When the Russian Grand Prix is better than the Canadian Grand Prix, I never thought in a million years I'd end this season saying that the Russian Grand Prix was better than the Canadian Grand Prix. Rugara, what do you make of Alonso's final F1 season? I won't get super deep into it now because I, of course, am going to be doing a video about him and McLaren, you know, end of season review and all of that stuff. But he did the best with a bad car. That's all I can say. He did his best with what is one of, if not at times, the worst car on the grid. So, yeah, he did his best. I also think this is from Scoop Richardson. I also think if Vettel doesn't win next year at Ferrari, they will move him. I don't think they will. I think again, earliest he will be gone is for the 2021 season. I don't know who will replace him. Maybe a Daniel Ricciardo if things don't work out at Renault. Who knows? Maybe Giovinazzi if Giovinazzi does show that he is good enough, but. Yeah, earliest I see that is 2021. Where would McLaren be if they had a Ferrari engine? That's a Motorsport Tube. They would be better. I'm not doubting that. They would be better, but they still wouldn't be the front of the midfield. They wouldn't. They wouldn't be at the front of the midfield. If you compare the Haas and McLaren aero and chassis, the Haas aero and chassis is way better than the McLaren one. Not even close. What has been your favourite F1 intro ever? I think we all know the answer to that. Simon Craglan, what do you make of the regulation changes coming up for next year? I mean, this year we've had very close and good racing, so it's also kind of sad in some ways, but hopefully it will be great. I think it's a good thing from two points of view with the new aero regulations. One, if it does improve the racing, then yay, that's a plus. And also, I think if you look back in history, regulation changes when it comes to the aero stuff normally closes the pack up than, say, changes with the engines or something else. So I think it will close up the field more in 2019 and also enable closer racing. Or it should do, at least. Ivan Jones, early prediction, but if you would have to predict right now who will be the 2019 champion, I've said this quite a few times, but I'll say again, right now I'd have to say Lewis Hamilton. I don't see him being stopped until 2020 at the earliest, and at the latest maybe 2021. But yeah, 2019 I think Hamilton and Mercedes will take the drivers and constructors yet again. When Vettel leaves, Max Verstappen will go to Ferrari. That's from Andrew Drury. If Verstappen and Leclerc are in the same car, oh my god, that is going to be some battle. I don't think that will happen though. Simon Troop, what was your best overtake in 2018? I'm not going to say right now because, again, I'm doing a video about the best or worst, whatever's in 2018, but I'll mention three. So Vettel on Bottas at Silverstone, Ricciardo on Bottas in China, and the third one, what would I go for? Maybe, I don't know. There was a good one with Hamilton and Vettel at Russia. That's another one. I don't know what the third one would be for sure, but the two top ones for me are Ricciardo in China and Vettel at Silverstone. Just looking now through the chat, see if I've missed any questions. No problem. Ivan Jones for answering your question. Simon Craigland, when do you think Vettel will retire? I think maybe at the end of 2020. I don't think it will be at the end of 2020. I think Vettel will be like kind of a Kimi Raikkonen like. He'll be in F1 until he just loses the passion for racing. I think Vettel will be in F1 until 37, 38, 39 years old. I really think that. So, I mean, how old is he now? 31? So I think Vettel will be in F1 probably until 2024, 2025. Past that, then he'll probably retire, but I think Vettel will be in F1 for another 5 years at least. Ricciardo on everyone in Baku. Seirugara, a bad season for Sebastian Vettel next year, and we're having him top 15 all time in my opinion. Well, that's interesting. He has dropped in my estimations after this season. He has. I thought this season he would. I didn't think he would win the championship, but I thought he would be closer to Hamilton by the end of the season, but actually has ended up further away with a better car as well. So if he does again lose the championship from a winning position and loses to Charles Leclerc, then I might have to drop him outside the top 10 and put, say, Nigel Mansell in the top 10 instead. Vettel's overtake on Hamilton in Austria, not Russia, in Austria is underrated in my opinion. That is also a very good one. That has to be in the top 5 or top 6 for me. Do you think Hamilton will get 100 poles as he has got 83 so far? That's from Simon Troop. Yes, I think he will. He just has so much pace. And as we've seen this season, he doesn't necessarily need the clear fastest car over the course of a season to end up with, I mean, what's he had? 11 pole positions in 2018. If he has, 11 next season and 11 in 2020, he'll be up to, 105? So, yeah, I can see that happening for sure. Crystal Racing, Vettel and Raikkonen will go down this generation's version of Piquet and Mansell. Could you explain further on that? Because I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, explain your reasoning behind that, and that might make more sense to me at least. Andrew Drury, what happened to the 2013 Vettel? I don't think anything happened. I think in 2013, in that time period, Vettel had the best car. He knew he had the best car. And that does give drivers confidence. And I think the criticism of Vettel back in those days that he wasn't the best on the grid and that he was winning because of the cars he was driving, I think that criticism is definitely valid after what we've seen this season and in 2017. Seirugara, Verstappen on Raikkonen in Silverstone. Yep, that's another one. Was a great overtake. Yep, that was. Also, yep, Hamilton's triple pass in Bahrain. It's been a good season where we can't even make really a top 5 overtakes because there has been just so many ones out there. There's ones I'm forgetting about that you guys are reminding me of. But, right, I will... Right, here we go. So, Crystal Racing. Piquet and Mansell are regularly ranked behind Prost and Senna, just like Vettel and Raikkonen get put behind Alonso and Hamilton. I will say with Vettel, I think I've said this before, maybe not in a video, but Vettel does remind me a lot of Nelson Piquet. In terms of Piquet, you wouldn't know, but has 3 world championships, but no one ever talks about him because there were a lot of circumstances that work against him when it comes to ranking him as one of the greats of all time, such as at Brabham, he had awful teammates that were paid drivers and were there just to support Piquet. His tactics against Mansell at Williams were very poor and quite disgraceful at times, targeting his family and saying stuff about his family. Now, I'm not saying Vettel is, say it like that. I'm not saying Vettel is disgraceful with what he is as a person. But when it comes to, again, the circumstances around his championships, he is kind of Nelson Piquet-like. Because even though he's won 4 world championships, he will always get the whole... but he had an Adrian Newey car. He had the best car. And he did. You can't deny it. 2 of his world championships he won because he had the clear, absolute best car. I don't think he did deserve to win in 2012. I think Alonso deserved that championship. 2011 and 2013, he thoroughly deserved to win that championship. I'm not doubting that. But you can't argue against, after what you've seen again in 2017 and 2018, you can't argue that Vettel doesn't need a great car. You can't argue against that, because even with a car that is, over the course of the season, this season has been better, he still has not won the championship. And I think the only way Vettel wins the title again is if he has a dominant car. Obviously, Vettel has a different relationship to Kimi, unlike Piquet and Mansell, who despised each other. Yep, true. And also says Piquet won a lot early, like Vettel, but he slipped when pitted against tougher opposition. Also similar. Raikkonen has a certain Mansell quality in having amazing wins, but also bad luck and struggles. I also think Daniel Ricciardo has that quality as well. When Ricciardo wins a race, it's normally an amazing race, but does have a lot of bad luck. So I think Ricciardo is very similar to Nigel Mansell as well. But yeah, definitely for me, Vettel is very similar to Nelson Piquet. Very similar. I think people don't look at Piquet and that Vettel comparison. They need to look at it more, because it does, or it is quite scarily similar, that, you know, those two drivers. Right, I'll read out a couple more, guys, and then I will get into my channel update for the content coming during December and January. Warren M. Vettel is incredibly quick over one lap. He is quick, but I wouldn't say incredibly quick. And is majestic when he can create a gap. His racecraft is just not as good as Alonso or Hamilton, or for me as well, Raikkonen. I'd say Verstappen and Ricciardo. I don't think Vettel has good racecraft, and I also say that the criticism about Vettel not being able to race as well as he can, you know, drive out front, is now 1,000,000% valid. It is a valid criticism. Simon Cragland, Vettel needs a dominant car. Yes, he does. Do you think we overhyped the Hamilton-Vettel rivalry looking back at it before 2017? I don't think we did. Because coming into 2017, we knew, after we saw the first couple races, that we were now going to get to see who is better, Hamilton or Vettel, in somewhat equal cars. And it has been proven, something I've thought anyway, that Lewis Hamilton is better than Sebastian Vettel. I think Hamilton has always been better than Vettel. But Vettel, when he won his championships, was in a much better car between 2010 and 2013. E7 suspect. Vettel needs a car which is a second quicker than everyone else to beat Hamilton, in my opinion. I think Hamilton knows he can beat him head-to-head. In a head-to-head battle, Hamilton beats him every time. Three underrated F1 drivers: Jack Brabham, Jackie Stewart and Alan Prost. Right, I will answer one more and then I'll move on to the channel updates. If you do have one more, guys, then put it in the chat and I'll answer it, and then I'll move on to the channel update. And please stay around for that, because if you want to know what to expect from me during the next 2 months and from now until basically the car launches, then please stick around. Andrew Drury will get the last one, because that is actually quite a good one. Most overrated driver. Most overrated driver. Oh, who would that be? Jacques Villeneuve, I think, was very overrated. There was another driver. Oh, and Antonio Pizzonia. He was massively overrated. He was one of the worst drivers to ever be in the sport. I'm trying to think. Fisichella. I think Fisichella was overrated. He got shown what he was actually in 2005 and 2006. I don't know who to name as the most overrated. Andrew Drury says Jenson Button. I wouldn't say Jenson Button. I think Button got what he deserved in his F1 career. Crystal Racing says Gilles Villeneuve. That's interesting. Maybe from a standpoint of maybe Villeneuve would not have won as many titles as people think he might have. I can see that, but I think Gilles would have won a championship. He was a very, very talented and good driver. But I think his son would be more overrated. Webber. No, I wouldn't say Webber. I think, you know, with the whole Vettel and Webber thing at Red Bull, I think Vettel was just better than Mark Webber. Still close, though. It was between the two. Ben McCarthy says Heikki Kovalainen. I wouldn't say him. I don't think Kovalainen was ever really rated as anything special. I think Valtteri Bottas would have to go down as another one. I think Bottas has been overrated. So put him down as an overrated driver. I don't know who I'd go for the most overrated. You know what? I will go Jacques Villeneuve. I think Villeneuve was nowhere near the level of a Michael Schumacher or a Mika Hakkinen back in those late 90s. I don't think Villeneuve was anywhere close to those drivers. Villeneuve in 97 had a car that was at least a second faster than Schumacher's Ferrari, and Schumacher for a lot of that season was ahead of Villeneuve in the championship. And if Schumacher steered ahead of Villeneuve at that final race in Jerez and didn't do what he did to Villeneuve, then Schumacher would have deservedly won that championship, because, again, how Schumacher was even in that position in that Ferrari compared to that Williams of Villeneuve is a miracle. Villeneuve, I think, was on pole by 1.5 seconds or 1.7 seconds at the first race of that season, but still only won the championship by, what, 3 points? So I'd have to say Jacques Villeneuve. Yeah. So, right, now we will get into the channel update. So listen up, guys. So, starting off with December. So, I'll get into what I'm going to be uploading for the rest of this week after I finish this. But for December, so what it's going to be, I'm going to be doing end of season reviews during the week, and then at the weekends will be the podcast live, by the way. Every podcast after the one that goes out tomorrow will be live, and if it's not live, then it'll be because, you know, one of us is away on that certain day and we have to record it before. So yeah, so all the podcasts after tomorrow's will be live on a Saturday afternoon, and of course This Week in F1, that'll be live on Sunday afternoon every Sunday. So yeah, end of season reviews will be until the 20th of December. Then we'll do some Christmas stuff with the podcast, like a Christmas special. The last video before Christmas Day will be This Week in F1 on the 23rd of December. That's a Sunday. So the last video before Christmas will be This Week in F1 live, probably at like 3 PM on Sunday afternoon. And then in between Christmas Day and New Year's Day will be a video, and it's going to be basically the end of season awards for 2018. And what I'm going to do is share my opinion on best overtake, best drivers, worst drivers, best races, just, you know, those types of awards. And also you guys will have the chance to vote on that, and I will read out the results of the poll I'm going to put up probably in a week and a half to 2 weeks time. You guys can vote on that, and I'll read out the results in that video, and you guys will be able to see what you guys have voted for as a majority. And then after that, me and Nib on the I don't know if it's the 28th or the 29th of December, we're going to do what's kind of going to be a special podcast. We're only doing it because of the time of year. We're probably not going to do this permanently. We are going to do a classic race watch along. Now again, this is only going to be most likely because of the time of year. If it does go over well though, then we may do it in the future, you know, maybe once a month or something like that. But we will be doing that on the, again, 28th or 29th of December. I will also open up a poll for you guys to vote on which race we will end up doing a watch along for on that day. And then the last video will be probably the 30th of December, where I'm basically going to thank you guys for this year and maybe do another channel update. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to do kind of a thank you video. That'll be the last video of 2018. Then in 2019, in January is going to be full of opinion videos on, you know, drivers, what they're doing for 2019 and just their careers, such as Hamilton, Vettel, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Ocon, Sainz. I think I've got Sainz down as another one. I've got plenty of opinion videos coming in January, and also I will have a couple of debates which will be kind of a part of the podcast on a Saturday during that month, where you guys can get involved with those videos. But again, I will let you guys know closer to those dates what is exactly going to happen and what I'm looking for those certain videos. And that takes us up to late January, where in January, say around the 27th, I'll start doing pre-season previews. Then after that will be the car launches, and then will be pre-season testing. Now when it comes to what I'm doing for February with the car launches and pre-season testing, I'm not going to let you guys know what my plans are until, say, mid-January. I'll do another channel update, maybe a part of a live podcast, or This Week in F1. I'll do another channel update saying what my plans are for that month. But there you go. So in December, end of season reviews, classic race watch along, end of season awards, thank you video. There will also be a face reveal from me in December, so don't worry, you guys will get that. And then in January, opinion videos, and then we'll start heading towards the 2019 Formula 1 season. So there you go, guys. That's what's going down over the next couple months. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Let me just look through the chat, see what you guys think of that. Ronan Brady, how far do you plan in advance? I've got everything planned up until the first race of the season. That's how far I plan my content. You guys sound like you're liking a classic race watch along. We do have, me and Nib, we rounded it down to 5 races. I don't know if I've got it here somewhere. I don't think I have, but I think Suzuka 2005 is on the list, and also a couple of races at Brazil. So again, I'll put that poll to you guys probably mid-December. Also, I'll put the poll for the end of season awards in or around mid-December, so you guys can vote on that. And if you want to vote on it, where it will be either in the comments section of my videos starting from mid-December onwards, or it will be in the community tab on my channel page. If you haven't seen the community tab, go to there and you'll see what it is. I haven't posted anything in there, but the polls will go in there so you can vote on it. Ronan Brady, Russia 2017. No. No chance in hell. But yeah, a couple of you look like you're looking forward to that. But there you go. That's what's coming up during the winter. But what's coming up on the channel this week? And by the way, when it comes to content for every week, I will let you guys know the exact videos at the end of whatever video it is at the end of that week. So for example, this Sunday, at the end of This Week in F1, I will let you know the a schedule for the next week, and we'll just keep going with that. So these are the upcoming videos. So Tuesday, we will have the podcast. We're going to record that tonight. So if you are on the Discord server, post your podcast questions there and we'll answer as many as we can. Thursday. Now, I put a question mark, not because I don't know what to upload, but it's a video that I've kind of almost got done that I know you guys are going to like. I don't want to reveal it though, because I think it is going to be quite a special video. And it will get you guys going when it comes to video ideas. Once you see the first 2 words in the title of that video, you will know exactly what I'm on about. So yeah, that's a mystery, but it will be between 4 and 5 PM UK time on Thursday. I think you guys are going to like it. And it should start off a little series to do with the first 2 words in that title. And then on Friday will be the first season review video. Hamilton and Vettel. Yep, it's going to get very deep and controversial in that video. I'm also going to review Mercedes and Ferrari seasons in that video as well. They'll be on Friday between 4 and 5 PM UK time. And then this weekend, the first ever live podcast with me and Nib will be live Saturday, 3 PM UK time. On Saturday, we are going to be reviewing the 2018 season, the championship battle, all the teams, and doing it on Saturday. And then on Sunday at 1 PM UK time will be This Week in F1 live. And then for the schedule for the next week, you'll be able to find out at the end of that video. But guys, thank you very much for coming along to this race review and asking questions and posting your comments and enjoying the video in general. And I just want to say, for all of the races, and ever since, with the old channel as well, ever since, day 1 of preseason testing to right now, thank you guys so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. And hopefully 2019 will be successful with this new channel. We are not that far away now from 2K. We are under 100 subs away from 2,000 subscribers. So we should hopefully be getting that pretty soon. But again, thank you guys very much. If you have not subscribed and you are new to the channel, we will be doing this for every race weekend in 2019. So please don't forget to subscribe. On the bottom right of the screen, you can do it there. Or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel. Also, like this video and comment down below what you thought of this video and what did you think of what happened in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and what do you think about what I'm going to be uploading during the winter time. Also, don't forget to join our Discord server. If you want to keep up to date with the content coming over the winter, the Discord server is the best place to be. That is the best way to get notifications for my videos, as long as you are active in that server. So don't forget to join that. It's in the description down below. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110. That will also be a great place to keep up to date with me and the content. And if there are any issues as to why I'm not uploading on a certain day when I said I was, Twitter will be the place I will go to let you guys know. And also, check out my website, chazerhd.com. Another great place to keep up to date with me and the channel. But guys, thank you very much for the 2018 Formula 1 season. This is now, I think, 2.5 seasons I've done on YouTube to do with Formula 1. It has been great as always. And until the podcast tomorrow evening, it's been me, ChazerHD. Goodbye.